When I set off to ride the trail of Genghis Khan, I never imagined the adventure that lay before me. I couldn't ride before I began. This was a journey of 10,000 kilometres through the most extreme climate on Earth. I'd have to confront mountains, wolves, thieves, an age-old conflict between sedentary and nomad people, and the most tragic event of my life that very nearly ended my journey. But I was driven on by a dream, to live the life of the nomads who roam the unfenced land of the Eurasian steppe, and whose ancestors were the first to tame and ride the horse more than 5,000 years ago. The most famous nomad of all was Genghis Khan, who founded the largest empire in history. In the West, he's mainly remembered as a ruthless barbarian, but in Mongolia, he's celebrated as a national hero. So who are the nomads? And what can we learn from the lives they lead today? For me, the only way to find out was to ride from Mongolia to the edge of the steppe on the Danube in Hungary, learning to see the world through nomads' eyes. Alone and filming myself, I've travelled 3,000 kilometres across Mongolia and the starving steppe of Kazakhstan in one of the coldest winters in 40 years. Tigan! I've been stuck for 3 months in this desolate mining town, Akbakai, known locally as the place that God forgot. My new travelling companion Tigan's gone missing in a town where 18 stray dogs have already been stolen and eaten this winter. After 7 days, we found Tigan, locked in an old miner's shack. He was close to death. I was meant to spend 3 days in Akbakai, and it's turned into 3 months of hell. I tried to leave 5 times. Tuscany went lame, my petrol stove broke, and I went down with the flu. Every time the locals told me, Tim, if you ever have to rush in life, rush slowly. Finally I understood what they meant. On the steppe, it's the environment that dictates, not you. To reach the next water, it's 150 kilometres across a desolate wasteland known as the starving steppe. After 5 thirsty days, the morning light brought the first sign of spring. This is the first bit of greenery that I've seen, well, for about 7 or 8 months. And I think it smells just as good as for me as it does for the horses. The horses can finally eat healthily and well, I don't have to worry about hay. For the Mongols, this must have been a wonderful time for them and their horses of lushness, of warmth, of being outdoors, running water. I can tell you, it's just an amazing relief. Less than 1% of Kazakhs are still nomadic, but suddenly this family appears. They're putting up their yurt for the spring camp. The steppe's coming back to life again. I'm just so inspired by the smiles on these kids' faces. Their ancestors have been migrating across these lands, using the very same campsites, wells, and knowledge for thousands of years. Time for dinner, hey guys. Hey! hey, it's mine! Spring's also the time of camel shearing. They use the wool of the camel to make their winter clothing. A single camel can also feed a family for months. This is what you call a camel in the lounge room. A hell of a lot of meat, and you can see the two humps from the Bactrian camels sitting right here behind me. I'm still travelling alone and filming myself. After 7 months of frozen steppe, I arrive at the river Sirdarya. Genghis Khan crossed this same river when it was frozen and went on to attack the empire of Khwarezm, the Mongols' first conquest in Central Asia. The bridge is pretty poor, to say the least, and there's no way that I can get the horses across. I've been waiting here for a day, and finally we've come up with the solution of laying down all of my horse blankets, and we're going to try and just force the horses across. I think they're going to be pretty frightened.
Hey, korkma zayıbal. At degende korkma. Şeymen ötüdü ona. Yürüme değil mi? Oy yok, tvarat, oy yok.
It's been 3 hard days, and as usual the locals here are incredibly helpful. I've borrowed some clothes to wear out the back there, washing my putrid travelling clothes. This is Galkar. She's even volunteered to sew up my rapidly deteriorating pants. That's the great thing about being in a traditionally nomadic country. There's always a door open. They give you a room. They'll even feed your horses. They understand the needs of a traveller a lot more than those in a sedentary society. One of the dirty realities of horse riding is having to clean the horse blankets every couple of weeks so that the horses don't get sores on their backs. I've been very lucky to find someone to help me wash them. In actual fact, she's done most of the work.
Jeremy, seninle söylesem gerek.
This is the head of the camel here, with a bit of pasta. You can probably see why it's called Besh Barmak, which means 5 fingers. I'm not very good at it. Kazakhs always have a room which is allocated for guests, but I've got to say I feel very, very lucky to be in a culture where it's all laid out for you as a traveller in some ways. And you know, every house has this big stack of mattresses and cushions just ready for a guest to wander in, which is exactly what they have in yurts, and which is exactly the way that nomads have always been. If it wasn't for hospitality, life on the steppe just would not be possible. They say in Kazakh that first time as a guest you're a friend. Second time, you're part of the family. Third time, well, you can stay for life. Camels have long been called ships of the desert. But these ships are no camels. I'm now standing on the edge, or what was the edge, of the Aral Sea, the second largest lake or inland sea in the world. Only the shoreline is about 120, 130 kilometres that way. And what was once a very busy fishing port here is now just a dust bowl. A lot of sand, a few old ships left, and not much else. From the Aral Sea I have to travel 1,000 kilometres through desert heat to the Volga River. Here, distance is measured by grass and water. In this very desert in the 1800s, in a disastrous campaign to Central Asia, the Russian army lost 10,000 camels and half their men to the elements, and never even made it to the battlefield. Every summer here they have 40 days in a row of above 40 degrees. Oh, I don't think I've ever been so hot in my life. Thermometer shows often during the day about 45, 46 in the sun. Maybe get 2-3 hours sleep, and next thing you know it's late evening and you got to pack the horses and off you go again. It just makes you feel absolutely rotten and exhausted. I've decided that the only way to beat the heat and save the horses and the dog from heat exhaustion and sores from the sweat is to travel at night. So tonight I'm going to try travelling all night. It's going to be a full moon, so it should be beautiful. It's about 5 in the morning and we've been riding all night to avoid the heat during the day. And it's in this state of mind, of course, that the Mongols used to have their deadliest attacks. They would ride for 2-3 days at a time without any sleep at all, and in this crazed, sleep-deprived rage, they would just descend on their enemy's camp without any warning at all. And of course they were so fast that no scouts could ever get to them in time. And there'd be just these mass slaughters. I'm living in fear of the rising sun. I can't sleep during the day because it's so hot. It's 50 degrees by midday, and the horses are so distressed that they won't eat. They're all getting skinny, and I'm exhausted. Can't go on much longer like this. I only slept 2 hours yesterday and then I've been up all night again trying to ride. Oh God. If I don't find someone to take me in by 8 or 9 in the morning, I risk being baked alive. This morning I'm rescued by a family of camel herders. They've got about 500. The camel milk offers great relief from the heat. In fact, I'm growing to really love it. It's got a really fatty, sweet taste. They make everything from camel here. For them, camels are what horses are to people back in eastern Kazakhstan. The underground huts are a lifesaver. It's 50 degrees outside and there's no shade. Down here it's a constant 25. It's only late in the evening that everyone emerges. The camels are herded home in the moonlight and we all sleep outside under the stars. But now I've got to get up and keep moving. I never know whether I'm going to find the next underground hut before it's too late. Oh my God. I tried to get the horses across the bridge here and the back horse pulled back on the other one and the third horse fell through the bridge. And oh shit, I thought he'd broken his leg. I undid a couple of straps, but it was just too tight, it was killing him. I got my knife and cut the rope. He was so spooked that he ran into a nearby swamp and got bogged. Poor horse. By the time I got to him, he was really distressed. He'd almost given up. If it wasn't for the locals, I would have lost him. It's taken me 14 months to cross Kazakhstan, and I've stayed with over 90 families. But another mountain lies ahead. The mountain of bureaucracy on the border between Kazakhstan and Russia. I've been warned that taking horses into Russia is almost impossible. They've become my family, and I can't bear the thought of leaving them behind. This is it. Feeling nervous, a bit scared. I'm worried about customs. I've never been across the border with horses and a dog. I've got the Kazakh customs, then the Russian customs. And I'm not expecting it to be that easy, but you never know. The problem is that no one knows how to process you. No one rides by horse, and as they say in Russian, "Первый блин комом," the first pancake never works out. At first, Russia wouldn't let me through, but Kazakhstan wouldn't let me back. They said I was illegally exporting the horses. When Kazakhstan allowed me re-entry, I was stuck for 6 weeks in a bureaucratic nightmare trying to get permits from Moscow. I finally get my permits on the last day of my visa. 24 hours more and I would have had to abandon my animals. That means on horseback and with one dog. In my journey on the Nomad Trail, I've now officially left Asia and crossed into geographical Europe. Astrakhan is an old fortress city on the Volga River that came under constant attack by nomads in ancient times. But now it's my turn to be under attack. Oh, it's definitely Russia and a real shock. Tell you what, it's probably the most dangerous thing I think I've felt on the whole trip so far. Tiggin's also a bit uneasy about it all. Jeez, Tiggin. This is the first time my horses have been in a city. I don't know who's more terrified, them or me. A local TV crew filmed me going through the city. They were kind enough to give Tiggin a lift in their car. We rode all day through the city, and by the time I got to the other side, it was dark. I usually make sure I camp in daylight and check the land around me before I camp. I don't have that luxury tonight. Oh, you probably can't see me, but I can tell I can't see anything. I can't believe it, the horses have gone. Anyway, I was unpacking and the horses just bolted. We've been searching all over the steppe with the emergency services. Honestly, have no idea what I'm going to do if I can't find them. It's almost like an unbelievable nightmare. Everything I own, the whole trip, has just disappeared into the night on the steppe. Within 30 seconds, everything had just disappeared. At about 5 in the morning, one of the officers woke me up. He said, "Tim, I've had a dream. I went fishing and caught a red fish, a brown fish and a grey fish. The same colour as my horses. We're going to find them, I just know it." Early this morning we found the horses, and very, very lucky and very happy that the police were so happy to help me. very grateful and a little bit embarrassed about the whole thing. As my second winter sets in, I follow the Volga River delta before turning west back onto the steppe and into Kalmykia, the only Buddhist republic in Europe. The Kalmyks' ancestors came from Mongolia. They were the last nomadic people to migrate across the steppes from Asia to Europe. One of the Kalmyk clans, the Turguts, were renowned as the bodyguards of Genghis Khan. In 1943, all Kalmyks were exiled to Siberia, eventually returning in 1956 to rebuild their culture. The word Kalmyk roughly means those who were left. I'm lucky to meet with some of the guardians of Kalmyk culture. Okhna is a famous Kalmyk singer whose songs have topped the charts in Mongolia. He sings about the spirit of the steppe and strongly believes that his people should return to their nomad roots for strength and identity. Kalmyks believe that vodka is holy, and before they drink, they always take their finger and flick one drop to the earth, one to the animals, and one to the sky. Dorje is leading this cultural revival with his passion for horses and traditional craft. He strongly believes that ancient wisdoms of the nomads are important in today's modern world.
Он, значит, не уважает себя, свой родной язык бросил, свою культуру не знает. Как он может уважать другого человека? Многие думают, что я бесцельно держу лошадей. Но что поделаешь, раз любовь есть, пока будет возможность, я буду держать лошадей. Конечно, без лошадей я проживу, но жизнь с ними гораздо полнее.
Dorje takes me to a Saiga reserve. Like the nomads, this unique species of antelope once roamed freely across the steppe. 15 years ago there was about 1 million of them. Nowadays, maximum, there's 40,000. And that's because of the demand for Saiga horns in China. It's believed that they're helpful in curing colds. Poaching's out of control. Like the Saiga, the nomadic Kalmyk culture was almost wiped out. I decided to winter over in Kalmykia and wait for the spring festival to launch me back on the trail. The Kalmyks embraced me as something of a hero. My journey embodies the very nomadic spirit they're searching for. I'd travelled across those same steppes their ancestors had ridden on their migration from Mongolia to Russia almost 400 years ago. I feel like right here in Kalmykia, everything I've dreamed of experiencing has come true. I've found a Mongolian-speaking nomadic people still living in Europe, and they're Buddhists. I would never have imagined that. These are living descendants of the last nomads in history to make the great trek from Asia to Europe. Ahead lies the Ukraine, where I'm about to become embroiled in an age-old conflict between sedentary and nomadic cultures. And I was to get devastating news that almost ended my journey. I just got the worst news of my life.
Sağlar sağ yalı